All right. And at this point, I'm going to make a quick introduction. It is now time for our friends at UWM, and it is my pleasure to introduce Danny Marogy, Senior Director of West Coast Development, and Justin Glass, Senior Vice President of Sales. Danny, please take it away. Good to see you.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it, buddy. So, hey guys, good morning. Happy Friday. I know it's a very exciting time now in the mortgage industry. There's so much uncertainties going on, and we're all scratching our heads and saying, what's next, right? At the end of the day. So, first things first. My thought process behind everything, and how many people thought the rates were going to go up when the Feds cut the rates by 50 basis points? Right? A lot of us did, right? For the most part. But a lot of understanding came behind it, knowing the why behind it, and now here we are today. So what are we doing, and what's going to happen next? So my presentation today, along with Justin Glass, my colleague over here, is understanding the refinance reality, right? At the end of the day, we know what happened in 2021 and where we are today, fast forward, and where the market's at. So a couple things I want to hit on, few strategies that I think work, and what I've seen in the industry and what I see other top originators do, whether it's within C2, outside of C2, just my thoughts on things, and hopefully you can get one or two, maybe three things that you can take home with you and hopefully capitalize and dominate. So first things first, how many people in this room have Loan Sifter? Raise your hand. Okay. How many people in this room understand what inverted pricing is? Raise your hand. Okay. Did you guys know that Loan Sifter does not show you inverted pricing? So what does that mean for everyone that did not raise their hand? First and foremost, in this market, obviously with what's going on, there's a couple things that everyone here needs to realize is, for example, if you're pricing a loan out in Loan Sifter, and let's say you're quoting the client 6.25, 6.25 is paying back, let's say 1.5, I'm making the numbers up. There's times where 6.125 and 6% could pay more than 6.25. Why is that? Coupons, interest in the market. So when you're pricing out a loan, getting the full picture and finding out the best deal for your client, understanding that this is happening today. If everyone in this room gets on their laptop right now and goes on Easy Qualifier and types in a scenario and hits get quote, you're going to see the inverted pricing broken down for you. So when you were quoting your client 6.25, this just happened yesterday. 6.125 was 42 basis points better than 6.25. On a 30-year fixed product. So if your borrower is being quoted from other lenders 6.25, you could just get them a better price right now at 6.125 by knowing that, by utilizing Easy Qualifier over Loan Sifter. I've told Matt this many times, buy it, shut it down, but it's not happening. They're worth a lot more today than they were 10 years ago. But for the most part, you're only going to see pricing. That's the thing. That's the negative that I have with Loan Sifter. Loan Sifter doesn't show you UWM's in-house BPMI. Loan Sifter does not show you the different products that we have to offer. It doesn't show you inverted pricing. It doesn't show you all the benefits you need to give your client the best deal. So that's my 2 cents on it. Now, maximizing flexibility. So again, tying it to the UWM system. So now everyone knows the market and where it's at and how everyone purchased the home back in 2022, 2023, all expecting to refinance. One of my favorite products that you can tie to a refi in today's market is the Flex Term. So what does that mean? So if somebody bought a house in 2022, right, and they're already expecting to refinance, you automatically have the edge and the competitiveness by telling them, listen, I'll keep you on your same term and get you a lower interest rate and save you money at the same time. You have the flexibility to choose from an 8-year all the way to a 29-year with UWM. So being able to have that flexibility is huge in this industry. So taking advantage of that and letting your clients know that they don't have to reset the term of their mortgage could be a big win for them. Also, don't forget about exact rate. This is my favorite tool when it comes to competing. We're going to talk about credit triggers in a minute, so this is going to tie to this as well too, is I would never in this market today or ever quote a borrower an interest rate in the 8s. We're one of 2 lenders in the whole nation that offer exact rate. And here's what I mean by it. And the other lender only offers it to their retail channel. If your borrower is being quoted 6.25 elsewhere, and you're going to try to beat that 6.25 by giving them the same rate? No, you're not. You're going to give them 6.124. In the mind of the borrower, now if they have to go back to the other lender and beat what you offered them, that lender now has to go down to 6 1/8. Exactly. And what's the difference in pricing between 6 1/8 and 6 1/4? I would never in the whole time in this market ever push rates in the eighths, because now you're competing apples to apples. Use what you have as a competitive edge. Take advantage of it, especially in this refi market, knowing that if you give someone 6.124 over 6 1/4, now they have to go back to the other lender and get 6 1/8. And then they're going to come back and not be able to match what you have to offer. So that's that. And then also custom rate. So I'm big on this only because how much money do you guys think is left on the table by locking loans on 30 and 45 days and having days left on your lock? A lot. It's a lot more. I tried getting the data before coming up here, but I remember I did it last time at the last meeting that we had here, and the number was in the millions. What do I mean by that? So strategy, right? Thinking big picture. If I have a purchase transaction, I know it's a 30-day escrow. Everyone in this room knows you can't close before the 30 days. Maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe the sellers are willing to move out and the buyers are willing to, move in early. But let's say they can't. So on a conforming loan, everybody in this room has what they call a diamond ASR, which gives you a free 5-day extension. So why would I not take advantage of a 25-day lock and then utilize my free 5-day extension to maximize that 30-day pricing for my consumer? Difference in pricing could be 4 basis points. I don't know. But it's definitely better. And then I can take advantage of that pricing and then give it to my consumer in return to give them a better deal, whether it's towards closing costs, whether it's towards any of that sort. Also, everyone in this room earns loan officer partner points, right? Exactly. You can use that above and beyond to cover the borrower's appraisal. So now, not only are you giving them a better deal with pricing, you're also covering their appraisal for them up to $600 by just utilizing your partner points for doing things the right way. So those are little benefits and details that you can give to your consumer. So here's what we believe and we have believed in. So in 2022, when the rates decided to go up, we're looking at over $4.5 trillion in business from then till now, maybe even more than that borrowers are getting ready to refinance. Everyone knows where the rates are today. Are they lower than they were in the last year and a half? Have we refinanced every consumer that we've done the last year and a half? No, we haven't. So how are we taking advantage of the market today? It's here. Like, I get it. Everyone predicted that, even Matt said it, UWM, if the feds come out and they raise the rate a quarter, most likely the rates are going to go up, right? Weren't rates lower 2 weeks prior to that? Consumers didn't know that, right? But the benefit, the perk that we had with the Fed rate cut was it was the biggest marketing piece in the history of mortgages. So now consumers are coming out of the woodworks. What do you think is happening from retail? What do you think those guys are doing out there? They're still 74% of the market. They're going after every single one of those clients. If we don't get ahead of our consumers and reach out to our consumers before they do, there's a reason why they're 74% of this whole market. Because they call, they are aggressive. And what do they quote consumers? If you go on Wells Fargo, Rocket Retail, what's the one thing when you go and look at their price that they're providing to the consumer? If you want to check what their interest rates are today, what are they selling? Exactly. So why aren't we? Why aren't we? Discount points. Every retail lender out there sells discount points to the consumer. One, because there are certain benefits depending on your income bracket when it comes to being able to write off the points. But for the most part, every retail lender out there has to sell points to match what you have to offer on the wholesale side. There's not one retail lender out there. Everyone's publicly traded companies, right? Rocket Retail. Their margins were almost 300 basis points. So if UWM's margins are 70 basis points and your margin is 100 to 150, aren't you beating them? Yeah, you are. So they can't compete with wholesale when it comes to pricing because of what you have to offer. So the only thing, and I say this with utmost professionalism, if we don't get ahead of your clients, they're going to take them. And that's what it's going to come down to, which leads into my next thing, is staying ahead of your consumers. Everyone in here familiar with SafeCheck? Okay, what's the benefit of SafeCheck? No trigger leads. Whether you use the UWM system or you do it yourself, I have people in this room who have how many people have lost loans in this room to a credit trigger in the last 6 months, give or take? It's quite a few hands, 10, 12 hands raised. refi companies out there, the call centers are growing. Everybody knows that this is a data mining market the next 18 to 24 months. What does that mean? So these call centers out there are getting licensed in as many states as possible. And what's happening is when they're getting licensed in these states, they're buying as many trigger leads out there. I get it, there's a bill out there, hopefully it passes. I don't think it will, there's too much money involved. But for the most part, we'll see what happens with Congress and when this bill passes. If it doesn't in the meantime, we gotta find a way to fight it. And how are we gonna fight it? For the price of a safe check or doing it yourself, it could save you thousands of dollars of potentially having to refi that client and then losing the loan to a credit trigger who just undercut you. And now instead of making 1.5 in lender paid compensation, you're making a half because they tried to undercut you. And these guys are all about volume. SafeCheck, in my opinion, is one of the best tools out there. As long as you can utilize it, take advantage of it. Everyone in this room know on VA IRRRLs and Streamlines, we only do soft pulls all the way to underwriting and closing. So if you click on the UWM credit report, we're going to do a soft pull. We never pull a hard credit on the consumer. We fund the loans on a soft pull. As long as you go into the AUS screen and hit the UWM free credit report, it's automatically going to pull a soft pull for you. That loan's going to go underwriting. Nobody will even know that loan existed. Not one trigger company out there is going to know that loan existed. In 2021, people weren't ready for it. It's 50 times worse in today's market with how many trigger lead companies are out there. I'm not trying to scare everybody in this room. It's just facts. They're out there. Some of them are our clients. So we know that everyone's seen the things on social media, 70 calls per borrower as soon as their credit gets pulled. Protect your consumers. Do what you can. Avoid the credit triggers. Because I promise you, we don't want to fall in that situation where now you have to sell the loan, and instead of making your full compensation, you're making a half or a quarter. Now, why UWM? For the most part, obviously, everyone knows us for speed, service, turn times, all that good stuff. But there's a lot of things that we do, and I know Justin's going to hit on a big one when he comes up here in a minute, but a couple of things I want to kind of reiterate and let everyone know what we do and try to help the consumers out there. So everyone knows in this room, when we send the bills to the clients, they're in C2 Financial's name. I get it, some of you have asked to be in your individual names. Still in the works, but at least for now it's in C2 Corporate. C2 Corporate knows how to reroute that client over if they were to reach out, right? The sale actually starts once you close the loan. Because what happens is every consumer in today's market knows they're going to be refinanced once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Don't lose that consumer because you're trying to make your full compensation. What do I mean by that? We rolled out Refi 75. Everyone knows we are a publicly traded company. And yes, there's a strategy behind Refi 75, and I'll be more than happy to share it with everybody. Our margin on Refi 75 is less than 10 basis points. That's what we make on these deals. But what we do know is once that consumer is in-house, we know that you're going to refinance that borrower 2, 3, 4 times down the road. We'll make our money back down the road. Every client in today's market is at least 2 loans, maybe 3, depending on what rates decide to do the next 2 to 3 years. Don't be afraid to take advantage of that opportunity and get that client in-house, no matter what it takes, because you're going to have a residual with that client, not only with them, but also with their relatives, friends, family, whoever the case may be. Brand 360, same concept, staying ahead of them, making sure that it's turned on. Borrowers getting emails from you every single month is actually a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Ever heard the saying, out of sight, out of mind? Knowing that you're there, knowing that you're available, knowing that you're there to help. Social media posting. I see Richard. I see a lot of people in this room that post social media posts every single day. And guess what? Some are funny, some are not. But guess what? It gets attention. It makes a point. And it gets to a point where your consumer, most of you add your borrowers onto your social media. Why not get them to follow you and see where the market's going and this and that? And they'll have a relative or a friend or a family member wanting to go over to you guys. Our focal point as a company is we could easily be the lender out there that's going to take your loans, close it, and move on. That's 80% of this industry. But that's not our focal point. We don't survive without you guys. So everything that we do, everything that we roll out, everything that we come up with is going to help everybody in this room grow and dominate. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you. So the next person I want to bring up is our Senior Vice President, Mr. Justin Glass. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Danny. All right, so AI was a buzzword, right? It's been a buzzword for a while, especially with ChatGPT coming out. How many people in here use AI on a daily basis? Impressive, impressive. So not to steal something, but use something that you probably heard Matt talk about, and it really came from our chief technology officer. But it's the saying around, the fear, right? The fear is AI going to take my job? And the reality is, it's not. But people that use AI could take your job. And so it's very important that you start to learn, understand, dive into what AI can do for you. And AI can be really applied in many, many ways, right? The biggest, for me, in my opinion, is actually combing through large amounts of data, putting data into a system and actually just asking normal questions to that database to say, hey, how many borrowers do I have under, or above 6% right now? And just having those results turn to you. And then asking a follow-up question, right? What states are those borrowers in? Right? So you just ask questions, you can talk to it, right? And it's a way, instead of having to know programming language and all these different things that developers do, or used to do, now you have that power, you have those tools at your disposal, right? And so when we look at AI at UWM, we are using that, which we'll talk about in a minute, to comb through massive amounts of data, millions and millions and millions of records. We're also using it for efficiency. So for you guys, what are you doing with AI to make your process more efficient? So I was actually talking to one of my buddies who built a program on Salesforce, and he's like, I got something really cool. I'm like, what? He's like, the computer will now call a consumer, and with his voice, so you can train it in your voice, will actually call the borrower and ask them for the conditions that they need on the file. I said, okay, I don't believe you, this is bullshit, right? So what does he do? He's like, all right, give me your phone number. So I give him my phone number, then calls me, says, hey, Justin, this is your AI chatbot for Z. And I said, okay, thank you. And it said, we're missing a couple items. One of the items was a driver's license. And so it said, hey, Justin, can you please provide an updated driver's license? I'm like, I'm gonna mess with this thing, I'm gonna screw it up, it's gonna fail, this is gonna bomb out, right? And I say, I don't have a valid driver's license, my driver's license is expired. The bot, I was like, oh, this thing's gonna fail. Nope, it said, here's how you go to your local DMV, here's how you update your driver's license, I swear. And I said, well, I can't make it there this week. It said, okay, here's the other types of identification that you can actually submit. Your passport, state ID card, whatever. It didn't have to be a driver's license. So it gave me all my other options as well. So just think about that in your world, right? Why aren't you using that, right? Processors are great. You're great at your job. But there's these, menial tasks, these tasks that you just don't have to do. So go spend time finding new loans. Spend time growing the business with the same team you have instead of having to hire 5 more people to process the more loans that you're doing. So you just got to keep these things in mind, right? CRMs are getting smarter and smarter as well. I was actually talking with one this morning, actually Bonzo, and they were telling me they can actually do things similar to what UWM can with some of their data through their MMI platform and actually start flagging opportunities through AI and then automatically send out drip campaigns to curate a borrower actually coming back in to you to get that next transaction done. So you got to look at all these different technologies. Everybody's diving into it. But for us, one of the ones that I need you guys to focus on is Chat UWM. So Chat UWM, how many people have tried Chat UWM? Okay. How many people have tried it and never gone back? Let's be honest. Anyone? A couple people? Okay. You may not have found what you were looking for, right? It was frustrating. I was actually reading an article the other day. It was an article between Apple's mindset of how they build and develop things and Facebook and how they look at things. And here's the big difference. Apple, both great companies, right? Apple drives to perfection. And so when you pick up that Apple device, it's going to be as perfect as Apple could have ever dreamed it to be. That's their mindset. Facebook, they pump things out every single day. They'll build a widget, put it out there. It might fail, but you know what they're going to do? They're going to collect feedback. UWM is more on the mindset of how Facebook is. So we put a lot of technology out there. But the reality is, all 8,300 of us at UWM, we don't use it every day. You guys use it. And so we need you to dive into everything we build and give us feedback. And the more feedback you give means we can go build better and improve on everything that we're coming out with. Chat UWM is one of those things. We put it out there. People are still like, yeah, we like the source better. It's better information, or we still go to Google, right? Chat UWM is going to be one of the biggest tools in your tool belt for things that I can't even talk about right now. But I promise you this, if you don't know how to use it, if you aren't familiar with how to ask natural language questions, meaning talking like you would talk to everybody in here, if you aren't used to looking at the results, it's going to be a little more difficult to use the next set of tools that we're going to layer in there. And I'll just give you something to think about. I mean, imagine going in there, as I kind of mentioned earlier, more generally about AI, but imagine coming to UWM and saying, hey, please tell me what I need to do to get the Smith loan closed. And then all of a sudden, every single thing pops up that you need to do and actually tells you how to go do those items. So that's just a small piece of what you're going to see, but do me a favor, do yourselves a favor, start diving in. It's the same thing if you don't know a loan program, right? So I was talking to someone at dinner last night. They're not ultra confident on VA. So what happens when a VA loan comes across their desk? They're less likely to work on that, right? But if you understand VA, or you have tools like Chat UWM that can now make you an instant expert. I was actually on, how many people have our InTouch app downloaded? Mostly everybody, okay? Download it. Chat UWM's built right in there. So literally, I had someone ask me a question this morning. I went into the InTouch app, into Chat UWM, and I was looking up guidelines in there. So it's an easy tool. So you don't always have to be the expert if you have tools that can help you be the expert. The other place we've applied AI is with Keep. So Keep is going to help you do what David was talking about this morning and focusing on your relationships. Focus on the next new deal, which for good and bad, most loan officers always go focus on the next new deal. They don't always go backwards. I don't know why. Maybe they think it's tough, but it's not. Your past clients is your easiest source of business. However, you have to keep those realtor relationships. You cannot let those go. And so with Keep, we're going to actually help you with those refinance opportunities. So basically, it's a $40 a month savings is kind of what we look for, but we're using AI to comb through hundreds of thousands, almost millions of records of loans that we've closed over the years to then flag these opportunities. We're then going to automatically email the consumer for you on your behalf, send them the application link on your behalf, get them to fill that out on your behalf, get that loan on the door. Once that loan's submitted to UWM, you can either run PA Plus setup, and then you take the file over and you get that thing closed, or you could choose to do PA Plus, full service. You don't have to do anything. You really have to order an appraisal, depending on what type of loan type. So imagine that you can now stay focused on that next new business and let UWM and our team help be that concierge to bring that business back to you. And so there's certain options you can set up. Again, in your settings as a loan officer, you can set up whether you want the PA Plus setup or the full PA Plus option. And again, that depends on how much work do you want to do. For the most part, you could allow us to take that file from getting that application all the way to funding. You just collect a paycheck. And it runs off your current comp plan. So it's not like we're going to go and say, hey, you got to make less money on it. The money you would make if you originated it is the same money you can make if we help you originate it. Okay? Everyone understand that? Good? Okay. So, really with that, just wanted to go through those quick things and just say thank you. You guys have always been awesome. Every year you guys are growing, so continue that, and I'll turn it over to you. Thank you, guys.